Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Iowa State University Beef Teaching Farm. It's spring out here. We're just coming out of a long winter. We're going to talk to you guys today about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's one of our pasture management techniques that we use to improve the quality of our grass pastures. We're going to talk to you about it right after this. Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Iowa State University Beef Teaching Farm. Spring has sprung out here. We're standing in one of our grass hay fields actually, but we're going to talk a little bit today about grass pasture management. And one of the things that we do to kind of spice up the diversity out in those grass pastures that we have. A lot of our grass-based pastures out here at the teaching farm are just that, a grass-based pasture. Over the years in some areas, maybe it's a high traffic area, maybe it's in this case where this is a straight grass seeding when we renovate, it's time to add in some legumes. The legume that we're adding in this time of the year is actually a very cheap option, and it's a very easy to establish option, and that is medium red clover. We're using a technique called frost seeding. We're actually going to link or have a link here in the one that you guys clicked on to watch this video for you guys to look at an actual ISU extension document explaining to you kind of the mechanics of how frost seeding works and some recommended best practices with it. We're actually getting towards the end of frost seeding season here. The theory behind frost seeding is that we want to get that clover seed out on the ground so that the freezing and thawing will actually present an environment and an opportunity to get seed to soil contact for that clover seed. Red clover is a very hardy seed. Sometimes we'll actually use some white clover and even some lespedeza or some large Dutch clovers, even a little bit of bird's foot trefoil in our mix when we frost seed. For the most part though, red clover is what you're going to run across most often, either a mammoth or a medium red clover. We're standing here today. We just put this grass pasture or hay field in last year. When I start a new hay field, I like to start them as a monoculture grass field. We can have different varieties of grass in there, but if we had to do any tillage, depending on the history of that ground, even when we're starting a pasture, when we if we had to do a complete no-till, heavy soil renovation, pasture renovation, we create an environment where we have a lot of opportunity for broadleaf weeds to get started. If we start at that first year when we seed with a lot of expensive, say we put a lot of trefoil in there or some grazing tolerant alfalfa or some really expensive clover, and the weeds get ahead of us, maybe we have a little bit of a tough year, we've taken herbicide suppression off the books. Through the years, I've discovered that what works best for here is I like to start them as straight grass. If we need to use herbicide suppression that year to get any broadleafs under control, we can. And then we come back in either with some frost-seeded red clover, or we'll come in with a no-till drill and actually put in those legumes later on. The one word of caution that I'll leave people with, if you're thinking you want to frost seed, you got to start planning for it before spring. As most things with good pasture management, planning is king in this. You'll see where we're standing out here, it's not super long. We actually left this as a stockpiled field last winter, and then we came in here after the ground was froze. I'd have to look back on my records, but I believe it was about around Christmas time before we get a lot of snow cover. And we grazed this very lightly. I think the cows were only in here about 2 to 3 days. We just kind of took the tops off because I want to create an environment where once we turn this spreader on, I've got dirt, or we can get the clover seed down and it's going to be able to get to some sunlight. The one thing that we have to do here is, if you'll see, we've got a lot of manure pats out here yet. I don't have a problem with them. I just like to see them broke up a little bit. So we will come in here probably on Monday, weather permitting, with a harrow, and we will actually just lightly harrow this field. After we put down this clover and we harrow it, we've done a really good job. We've created just enough soil disturbance that we probably got some seed to soil contact, seeing as how we're very much getting towards the end of our frost seeding window here from what the forecast looks like. That's one of the tips that we'll use out here, either in a grass hay field or even out in our grass-based pastures to get some diversity and some legumes so we can get a little bit of nitrogen to help that grass crop along. So the one tool that you got to have for this, this is just the one that we use and the setup that we have. We've also used a 3-point broadcast seeder for frost seeding. I like a 4-wheeler or a utility vehicle one. This is actually a new seeder this year because our other one was getting pretty bad. Know your seeder, calibrate it. This took me about a half a day to get this thing calibrated. All these come with a chart and explain to you how to calibrate them. In some areas, you're going to be putting down anywhere from 3 pounds, maybe 5 pounds. Talk with a consulting agronomist or your seed company on if you're going to frost seed clover, what you think you should need to use. I believe the extension document that we're going to link you guys to also has some of those recommended amounts in it. We're not putting out a lot of seed, so it becomes very crucial to be pretty accurate with your seeding on it. The thing that I like about a utility vehicle or a 4-wheeler is we can come out here even if it's a little bit of wet, kind of when the snow's first melting, and we don't do a lot of damage to these pastures. If we would come in here with even a 50 to 60 horse tractor and a 3-point broadcast seeder, in the event of it started to thaw, we can cause a little bit of damage. I just really like doing it off a utility vehicle, but use what you've got. You don't have to have anything high tech. I've seen some of the most successful frost seedings that I've ever seen put down are done with a seeder that looks like you bought it from an antique store. So stay tuned for more pasture management tips, and happy grazing this year.